Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The opposition leader raising questions over Brent Simonet and the post office call he had with the Prime Minister.
A 26-year-old male faces 14 charges in the magistrate's court.
Plus, Fusion pushing innovation in education.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. The Minnis administration faces a crisis of trust, according to opposition leader Philip Davis, who slammed the recent admission by former Cabinet Minister Brent Simonet that the Prime Minister called him directly to discuss government's plan to lease space in Town Centre Mall from Simonet and his brother. Davis says in a functioning government, a vote of no confidence would take place. Jared Higgs reports.
The phone rang one morning in whatever. I was in Mexico. It's early in the morning. PM and I get up early. And PM said to me, we're going to go ahead with the lease.
It's a phone call that opposition leader Philip Davis said should weaken the public's confidence in the Minnis administration.
I said, PM, I can deliver it by Christmas if it's no Rolls Royce. We got to reduce the size of the building. It can't be 70, 80,000 square feet. It has to be a Volkswagen, not a Rolls Royce. We had that discussion. I said, you have to deal with the whole question of conflict of interest. He said, we'll do a resolution in the House of Assembly. And he said, what will the rent be? I said, $12 a square foot.
After resigning as a cabinet minister last week, Brent Simonet made the revelation surrounding the controversial post office deal while speaking to ZNS talk show host Shanique Miller. The problem is, during debate on a resolution to rent the space, the Prime Minister stated that Simonet was not allowed to participate in discussions or the decision to lease the space to avoid any suggestions of a conflict of interest. The resolution itself stated at the time that while the owner of the mall is a sitting cabinet minister, he did not take part in discussions leading to the decision to rent the private space.
At $56,000, so the people who quote the wrong number, is $56,000 a month, which is $700,000 a year. Not $900,000 that I see in the press.
Opposition leader Philip Davis says he considers the phone call between the Prime Minister and Simonet as evidence that the Cabinet Minister was in on discussions. In a press statement, Davis said it is difficult to imagine how the Prime Minister can continue to lead the government effectively. He claimed Dr. Minnis has lost the public's trust and suggested that in a functioning government where public trust is valued, a vote of no confidence would take place. However, he added that it was likely that members of the Prime Minister's party would prefer to keep him in place rather than seeing him resign or fall to a no-confidence vote, accusing them of putting politics, not country, first. Meanwhile, a statement from the Office of the Prime Minister called any suggestion that the Prime Minister would unilaterally negotiate a proposal that spanned two administrations nonsensical. The Christie administration briefly considered the Town Centre Mall, but ruled that out and opted to build a new post office at the old Independence Shopping Plaza. The Minnis administration scrapped those plans upon taking office. Meanwhile, OPM maintained the post office relocation was a collective decision by Cabinet that was debated on the floor of the House of Assembly for the entire public to witness. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
A 26-year-old man was charged in the magistrate's court today in connection with the recent mass shooting in Montel Heights that left 14 people in hospital. Giorgio Bain reports.
The male believed to be responsible for Sunday's mass shooting in the Montel Heights area is brought before the magistrate's court and faces 14 charges related to that incident. Officers of the Central Detective Unit brought 26-year-old Jeremiah Andrews before Magistrate Darren Sroll Davis in connection with the recent mass shooting in Montel Heights, which sent 14 people to the hospital with gunshot wounds. Andrews, seen in the blue hoodie, was charged with 14 counts of possession of a firearm, namely a 9mm pistol, with the intent to endanger life. According to police reports, 14 people were shot and 3 others were injured during a mass shooting at a birthday party in Montel Heights in late June. 4 males and 10 females were shot. Another 3 victims were reportedly injured during the panic. 4 of the victims were under the age of 18. Andrews was represented by attorney Crystal Roll. Andrews entered a not guilty plea on all 14 charges. He returns to court on September 10th for the service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Until then, He will be remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Minister of National Security Marvin is defending SHOTSPOTTER technology used by the Royal Bahamas Police Force amid questions over whether it was used following the mass shooting in Montel Heights last month. Many of the victims had to be rushed to hospital in private vehicles after a disruption in phone services hampered their ability to call police and EMS personnel for help.
I'm not going to get caught up in the persons out there who obviously have an agenda and speaking negative about the technology that they know very little about, and I'm surprised because we made it clear when the technology came out. We had a briefing on the technology and the use of technology and the effectiveness of the technology, and now we're putting it and employing it throughout the field in New Providence, and the officers are speaking highly of it.
Dames insisted the technology has yielded positive results thus far.
I've had the opportunity to see it in action, and I think it's an added tool. At the end of the day, no one tool is going to solve our problems. We need a combination of tools, and hence the reason why we're gonna employ our drones. We're gonna employ more cameras on our streets, and we're gonna integrate the technology.
Youth, Sports and Culture Minister Lenicia Roll is responding to heavy criticism her ministry has received following the revelation that the under-18 boys water polo team missed the chance to compete for the gold medal due to a lack of funding. Roll said she was not aware of the funding issue but is working to ensure it doesn't happen again.
I was not aware prior to that of the situation, and the ministry will give a proper response, but certainly we want to encourage the children to do well and continue the federations, to encourage the federations to work with the ministry to ensure that we have proper communication and we know what's going on with them. And not only the federations, but also the coaches and the parents of the children. We're all in this together, and so there needs to be no blame. Whatever the situation is, we're going to consider it, look at the information in its entirety and try to come up with a solution that something like that, if that is the case, does not happen again.
Roll called on the federations to be more open with the ministry so that they can work together for the best interest of sports programs.
Certainly we support all of the aquatics teams. They did so well during Carifta, and we continue to support them. The federations are really responsible for their teams and in terms of their accommodations and all of those things. But any way the government can assist, we try to assist, and certainly the public is aware that we provide subventions to as many of the federations, and we will continue to do this. And where there is a dire need and the funds are properly accounted for, we are certainly able to do so, we will assist the teams.
Now, the situation did not sit well with Shadow Minister for Sports, Picewell Forbes, who called it a disgrace.
Monies have been allocated, monies are being spent, and for our athletes not to be able to have funding, somebody could have made a call somewhere for an extra night for our people, our young men, to compete at the age of the under-18 grouping, one extra night for a gold medal. Someone must be hanging their head today in shame, and I would hope that we can have some clarification to this matter, and the Bahamian people are waiting to be enlightened so we can know what's the real story here.
Employees at Atlantis Paradise Island showed up and showed out today as the resort hosted its third annual Battle in the Basement. Staffers from 3 departments donned Independence-themed Junkin costumes and competed for bragging rights. Caden Adley has that.
Well, it's definitely a celebration here at Atlantis, where over 100 employees came together for the Battle in the Basement. And what's an independent celebration without some Junkin? The third annual Atlantis Battle in the Basement showcased employees from 3 departments around the world-famous resort. First up was Royal Tower Engineering. Then there was Chopsticks. And lastly, Poseidon's Table. Overall, first place went to Chopsticks, which captured Best Music, Group Performance, and Choreography. Poseidon's Table finished second, followed by Royal Towers Engineering. One day before the country's 46th anniversary of independence, Director of Food and Beverage Brian Ramming wanted to ensure that Atlantis shows how remarkable its staff members are.
We have remarkable team members who have put in the work of those costumes. We have remarkable team members who have sought to perform here on a voluntary basis to show their strength in Bahamian culture and also to be a proud Atlantean.
We are the Bahamian people come together, you know, this we Bahamian thing. We celebrate it. We do the things we love in the hospitality and also bring Junkanoo with. It's a match made in heaven, man.
The celebrations ended with the Junkanoo rush out in Marina Village. Tourists stopped in amazement at the sights and sounds of the Junkanoo.
I think it's outstanding. I think your independence is amazing, and it's 46 years. I think everybody should be happy and grateful, and I'm so happy I came at this time of the year. It's wonderful to see other cultures.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Caden Natalie.
All right, thanks, Caden. Still to come, the prison chief shares rehab efforts. Stay tuned.